Hello, welcome back. Sandwich Generation Life, the channel for adult children taking care of their parents while raising their own children. I'm going to start off this video like I start off most of the videos with the question, what if your parents could not speak for themselves? If they were in a hospital bed, unconscious, hooked to machines, would the people making the decisions for them actually know what they want? Now, not what the family thinks, not what feels right in the moment, not the default path because no one has discussed anything else, but what your parent wants. That specific human being with their own values, their own fears, their own definition of what a good life and a good death would actually mean, what they would actually want. If you're not sure of the answer, this video is one of the most important things you will watch, because that is exactly what a healthcare directive does. Your parents' voice, even when they can no longer use it. But before we go any further, I want to be clear. I am not a lawyer, a doctor, or a legal or medical advisor. Everything in this video is for general information purposes only, based on my own experience and my own research as a sandwich generation caregiver. Healthcare directive laws vary from state to state. Please use this video as a foundation and work with a qualified attorney and your parents' healthcare provider to make sure that what you put in place is legally valid and medically appropriate for your specific situation. Before anything else, let's sort out some names, because this document goes by several different names depending on where you live, who you talk with, and that can be genuinely confusing. Healthcare Directive, Living Will, Advanced Directive, Advanced Healthcare Directive, Directive to Physicians, Personal Directive. That's a lot of names. These terms all refer to the same fundamental concept, a legal document in which your parent records their wishes about medical treatment in advance, so those wishes can be honored if they were ever unable to express them in the moment. I will use the terms Healthcare Directive and Advanced Directive interchangeably throughout this video. Your state may use different terminology. That is normal, so don't be alarmed and say, oh, she didn't use the right term. If you watched the last video in the series about the healthcare power of attorney, here is how the two documents fit together. The healthcare POA names a person, the healthcare agent, who will make medical decisions on your parents' behalf. The healthcare directive tells that person and the medical team what your parent actually wants. It is their own voice, documented in advance for the moments when they cannot speak. Think of it this way. The healthcare POA is the who, the healthcare directive is the what. Both are essential. One without the other leaves an important gap. I want to tell you something honest about what happens in a medical crisis when no advance directive exists. Families are asked to make a life and death decision, often suddenly, often in a hospital waiting room, often while they are terrified, for someone they love, based on their best guess of what that person would have wanted. And that is an impossible position to put someone in, because even the most devoted, most loving family member cannot know with certainty what their parents would choose unless that parent told them. And in most families, have never had that conversation. So the family guesses, and they carry that weight. Sometimes the rest of their lives. Did we do the right thing? And is this what they would have wanted? We will never know. A healthcare directive does not take that grief away in these moments. Nothing does. But it takes the guessing out of them. It means that when the family is sitting in the waiting room, the decisions have already been made by the person it belongs to, in their own words, while they still had the ability to say what they wanted. So your parents deserve to have their voices heard, even when they can no longer use it. And you deserve the peace of knowing you are honoring what they actually wanted. That is what this document does. So, what does a healthcare directive actually address? Let me walk you through the main areas. Life-sustaining treatment. This is the core of most advanced directives. If your parent is in a condition where they cannot recover, a terminal illness, a permanent vegetative state, an end-stage condition, do they want treatment that prolongs their life to be continued, or do they want the focus shifted to comfort? Those are two separate things. This is not a question about giving up. This is a question about what your parents value. For some people, every possible day of life is worth fighting for. For others, quality of life matters more than length of life. There is no right answer here, only your parents' answer. And only the way to preserve their answer is to document it. So now let's talk about resuscitation, CPR or DNR orders. If your parents' heart stops or they stop breathing, they want CPR attempted? This is one of the most personal and often misunderstood decisions in advanced care planning. What CPR looks like on a television screen and what it actually involves medically are very different things, particularly for elderly patients. A healthcare directive gives your parents the opportunity to make this decision thoughtfully, with full information, rather than having it made for them in an emergency. Mechanical ventilation. If your parents cannot breathe on their own, do they want a machine to breathe for them? Under what circumstances and for how long? Some directives specifically state ventilation is acceptable for a short-term, reversible situation, but not for an indefinite one. The document can be specific. Now, let's talk about artificial nutrition and hydration. If your parent cannot eat or drink on their own, do they want a feeding tube or IV fluids? Again, the answer may depend on the circumstances, a temporary situation versus a permanent one. Now, let's talk about comfort care, palliative care. Regardless of other decisions, most directives include a statement that a person wants their pain managed, their comfort prioritized. This is not giving up on life. This is a statement about dignity. So now let's talk about organ and tissue donation. Many advanced directives include a section on organ and tissue donation. This is not required. It can also be handled separately, but it is a natural place to document this wish while the conversation is already open. Now let's talk about personal values statement. Some of the most powerful advanced directives includes a section that the person writes in their own words what quality of life means to them, what matters most, what they fear, what they hope for. This is not legally required, but it is often the most important part because it gives the healthcare agent and the medical team a window into the person's behind the medical decisions. It tells them not just what your parent wants, but who your parent is. And that can change everything about how care is provided. Let me be direct about what happens in the absence of this document. Medical decisions get made. They always do, but they get made without your parents' explicit guidance. If your parent has a healthcare agent named, that person will make decisions based on their best understanding of the parent's wishes. But without a directive in place to reference, they are guessing, especially about end-of-life care, under the pressure of medical crisis and an enormous and often traumatic burden. If there is no healthcare agent named, either the medical team, the hospital fall back on their own protocols and the input of available family members, which sounds manageable until family members disagree, until someone who has not been present suddenly weighs in, until the loudest voice in the room drives the decisions rather than your parents' wishes. I've seen families torn apart by exactly this situation, not because anyone was wrong or bad, but because when there are no clear guidance, every decision becomes a negotiation between people who are already grieving, already frightened, already under enormous stress. A healthcare directive does not guarantee a perfect outcome, but it gives your family something to stand on, something they say that this is what they wanted. This is not us deciding, it is us honoring them. That is worth everything. Now let me talk you through how your parent can actually put this document in place. I want to start by saying this is more accessible than most families expect. An estate planning or elder law attorney can draft a comprehensive advance directive as part of a complete estate package, alongside the will, the durable power of attorney, and the healthcare POA. Most states have a free official advance directive that is legally valid and publicly available. You can typically find this through your state's Department of Health, your state's Bar Association website, or by asking your parents' primary care physician. These forms are often more straightforward than people think. They walk you through key decisions with clear questions, and they are designed to be completed without an attorney. 5 Wishes is a widely used, user-friendly advance directive document created by the organization Aging with Dignity. It is legally valid in most states and is written in plain language, not legal language. What makes 5 Wishes distinctive is that it goes beyond the medical questions and asks your parents to document their personal wishes, how they want to be treated, what their values are, and what they want people they love to know. It is the most human approaches to this process that I have encountered. It is available at agingwithdignity.org for a small fee, and it is well worth it. Regardless of which approach you use, your parent must be mentally competent at the time of signing. The document typically needs to be signed in front of witnesses, usually 2, who are not healthcare providers, not direct beneficiaries. Many states also require notarization. Your attorney will know your state's specific requirements. The instructions on the form will walk through what is required. There is one more related document worth knowing about, the POLST form. Depending on your state, it may be called POLST or MOLST or MOST or POST. These are physician orders, not advance directives, and they are typically used for people who are already seriously ill or elderly or frail. A POLST is a medical order by a physician that travels with your parent through the healthcare system, into the hospital, into a care facility, into an ambulance. It gives specific immediate instructions to medical personnel about CPR, ventilation, and hospitalization. A POLST is not a substitution for an advance directive. It works alongside one. If your parent has a serious illness or is in a healthcare facility, ask the physician whether a POLST form is appropriate. So, I want to spend a few minutes on this because the paperwork, as important as it is not actually the hardest part. The hardest part is sitting down with your parent and talking about what they want at the end of their life. Our culture does not make this easy. We are not good at talking about death. We avoid it. We euphemize it. We treat the conversation itself as something that invites what we are afraid of. But here is what I have come to believe. Not talking about it does not protect anyone. It just leaves everyone less prepared. When you have this conversation with your parent, you go in with genuine curiosity, not a checklist. Ask them open questions. What matters most to you about your end of life? What are you afraid of? What does a good death look like? You may be surprised by what they say. Many parents have thought deeply about things and have never asked anyone, have never told anyone. Some parents will not want to have this conversation right away. They will push back, change the subject, say it's too morbid, be patient, come back to it. This is not a one-time conversation. As with many of the conversations we've talked about over the past few series, it's an ongoing one. And some parents will be relieved that someone finally asked, relieved to have somewhere to put the thoughts that they've been carrying quietly. The goal of this conversation is not to reach a decision in one sitting. The goal is to open the door, to let your parent know it is safe to talk about this, and start building this kind of understanding that will guide the people they leave behind. My parent never had an official health directive, but they always stated they did not want to be hooked up to a machine, be in a hospital bed with a lot of tubes and wires hanging out of their body. So we always knew that that's not what our parent wanted. So we all knew what they wanted. Once the parent's health directive is executed, there are a few important steps. Give a copy to the primary care physician. Ask that it be put with their medical files. Many states also have an advanced directive registry where a copy can be filed electronically and accessed by hospitals in an emergency, and accessed by hospitals in a medical emergency. Give a copy to the named healthcare agent, the person who will carry out these wishes. Make sure they have read it. Make sure they understand it. Make sure they know where the original is stored. Keep the original in an accessible location, not buried in a safe, deposit box that no one can get to in an emergency. A fireproof home safe with copies to relevant parties is often the most practical solution. Review it periodically. Your parents' wishes may evolve as their health situation changes. As they age, as they witness others go through end-of-life experiences, a directive created a decade ago may not reflect where they are today. Revise it At minimum, after any significant change in health status is probably the best time to reevaluate it. If your parent is admitted to the hospital, a rehabilitation facility, or a long-term care facility, provide a copy at admissions. Do not assume it will be in the system. Bring it. Hand it to them. Ask them to make a note of it in the chart. I want to close this video differently from others. In the past few videos, I've talked about wills and power of attorneys, important documents, practical documents, documents that protect your parents' finances and their estate. But this one is different. A healthcare directive is not really about paperwork. It's about something much more profound. It is about your parents having a chance to say, while they still can, what kind of person they are, what they value, what kind of ending they hope for, what they want the last chapter of their life to look like. And it is about the people who love them being freed from the impossible burden of guessing. The conversation is hard. It is going to places most of us would rather avoid. I promise you, the families who have never had to worry, families who haven't, so many of them wish they had. Please do not push this one off. Talk to your parent. Help them find the right form, the right attorney. Sit with them while they work through what they want. Be the person who made it possible for their voice to be heard. In the next video in this series, I'm going to talk about more tough conversations that you need to have with your parents, especially around medical crisis. Going deeper into how to have these discussions with your families before an emergency happens, before an emergency forces you to have them. Subscribe. If you've not subscribed, please share the video. This is for someone in your life genuinely needs to see. Please if you like it, leave a comment below. I want to hear from you. Does your parent already have a health directive? Has this video series or this video sparked the conversation around having a health directive or any document? I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.